Why don't our loved ones living in the afterlife just come through to us and speak to us? In the following audio recording, you will hear a man living in the afterlife describing how difficult it is for people in the afterlife to communicate with their loved ones on earth. Hello, I'm Dr. R. Craig Hogan, President of the Afterlife Research and Education Institute and Seek Reality Online. Why don't our loved ones living in the afterlife just come through and speak to us? We know it's very difficult for them to communicate to us. In the audio recording that follows, a man named Alfred Higgins came into a Leslie Flint session in 1963, explaining how he tried to communicate from the afterlife with his grieving wife as she stood in her kitchen. Higgins describes how difficult it is for people in the afterlife to get a message through to someone living on earth. He refers to my friend in the recording. His friend was a guide who came with him into his wife's kitchen to help him communicate. Higgins just intends to be with her and finds himself standing beside her in the kitchen.
He says, "You died in hospital, you know." So I says, "Oh, did I?" So he said, "Would you like to go back just for a little while to see your people?" He says, "Yes, do you think that would help you?" So I says, "Well, it would be interesting, wouldn't it?" I said, "I would like to see them, but," he says, "they won't take any notice of you now." So I says, "Well, why not?" He says, "Well," he says, "they won't realise that you're there because they can't see you, and they won't hear you if you speak to them." Next thing I knew, I was standing in our kitchen, watching my wife. She was standing over the sink, peeling some potatoes. I thought, well, this is funny. So I thought, well, I don't know, wonder if she knows I'm here. And I called her name. She didn't say nothing. She didn't hear me, obviously. So my friend says, "She won't hear you, you know." So I says, "Well, I don't know what could I do?" She says, "There's nothing you can do." He says, "But she may sense your presence, you never know." He says, "Let's just wait a little while." So I just stood there and I concentrated. He says to me, he says, "Concentrate your thought on her. Just think hard. Think as hard as you can. Think her name." And I did. And all of a sudden she stood up and she dropped down the knife and the potatoes she was peeling, and she looked round, looked proper bewildered. She looked almost scared. And I felt rather sorry in the way that I'd scared her, because I realised it must have been me trying to get at her, Anyway, she just flew out of the kitchen, and she opened the door, and then she sort of shut it again, and then she sat down, and then she put her head on the table and started to cry. And I felt awful about this. I thought, oh dear, now, this is terrible. And he says to me, he says, "Don't worry." He says, "She senses, she feels, she knows in herself. She doesn't understand it, but she knows in herself that you're near her." So I says, "Well, if I'm going to make her miserable like this, there's not much point, is it?" So he says, "Don't let that worry you." He says, "This often happens to people." He says, "They don't know," he says, "with any certainty. They've never been told about life after death." He says, "They've never been told about the possibility of communication and all that sort of thing." He says, "But she'll come, she senses, she feels, and she in herself, deep down inside, she knows."